Hi, and welcome to Disctv, the show that brings you the world of disc golf. I'm Brian Sullivan. This week we're in Peoria, Illinois for the Greater Peoria Open. Now, top disc golfing pros have come from across the country to play here this weekend on 3 tough world-class courses. It should be exciting, so don't go anywhere, because Disctv is on the air right now. Also this week, add a new shot to your game. Sean Sinclair shows you everything you need to know about the overhand throwing technique. Plus, we'll talk with 4-time women's world champ Julianne Korver. It's all about disc golf. This is Disctv.
Good. Pause.
When you want to learn more about the Greater Peoria Open, the man to talk to is Bill Old Man Wallace, who's the tournament director. Bill, thanks for having us here. Or may I call you Old Man?
Oh, Old Man's preferred.
Let's talk a little bit first about the courses. We have Bradley, Washington, and McNaughton. Bradley and Washington first. What are the challenges out there?
Bradley is a totally redesigned course. We have a number of competitors here that have never been here before, haven't seen the course. All of the competitors that were here last year had never seen the course till they came back. The response has been good to the new design. Washington is a fairly wide open course, but usually when pros get there, for some strange reason, we manage to kick up a little wind for them. That's the challenge out there.
And finally, McNaughton. So many players list this course as one of their favorites of all time. Tell us about that course.
McNaughton is one of the courses that when we first put it in, I always told everybody, this course will let you use every shot you know, and it'll help you learn a new one that you're going to need the next time you play it. And it's been living up to that pretty much. The people like it. It's got length, it's got open, it's got left, it's got right, it's got woods. You name it, McNaughton's got it.
So the challenges are there. Who are the players? Who's won the event in the past few years?
The past few years, we can look at Ron Russell, we can look at Kenny Climo, we can look at, I'm not sure, Barry Schultz, every one of them, been up the top 10 quite a few times. The defending champion this year is Al Shack, and he's here this weekend to defend that title.
And on the women's side?
The women's side, we got Juliana that's pretty well ran the field her way about every year she's been here. This weekend, she looks like she's struggling a little bit. I think she should be pretty hungry. Des Redding knows she's ready for her. She beat her a couple times, I think, now in the last few weeks. So it's going to look good.
And can we perhaps pry a prediction out of you, Old Man, on who you are picking to win this weekend?
If I were forced to make a prediction, I'd have to run and hide someplace. I couldn't pick a winner. I just couldn't do it. There's too many possibilities. It's up for grabs this year.
We are looking for some close races, so stay with us. Old Man, we'll talk to you again later. Right now, let's take you out to the action. Peoria is a popular stop on the PDGA National Tour for 2 important reasons: Bradley and McNaughton Parks. Each course is not only beautiful, but full of risk and reward opportunities. If you're bold enough, you can find the deuces, but if your drives are off the fairway, be prepared to meet the shool. Now, shool is a disc golfing term that means the deepest, darkest part of the rough. And at these 2 parks, there was plenty of shool for everyone. Acres of tall hedges and undergrowth were easy to get into, but tough to get out of. Half of the trick shots on record have been devised specifically for courses like these, and in Peoria, we saw them all. Upside down, sideways, thumbers, and turbos, the shool of Peoria was testing everyone's skill. Open Division, 2001 Peoria Open champ Al Sugar Shack was on hand with an unsuccessful defense of his title. Shack shot 2 off the course record at the mostly open Washington course, but struggled in the aforementioned shool. Missouri's George Smith brought his long disc golf experience and shot well. Smith's PDGA number of 4034 was the lowest in the Open division this weekend, and those years of experience kept him within putting distance and near the top of the leaderboard. Steve Brinster of New Jersey has been on a hot streak lately, coming into Peoria after a second-place finish the previous weekend in Kansas City. What's the difference for Stevie? Long putts and keep them coming. Kevin McCoy of Tulsa has also tuned up his putting game, and more than a few players have been asking when he'll hit the tour full-time. McCoy showed his skills again this weekend by shooting a new course record of 13 under par at Washington. The Worm, Mike Young, pride of Alabama, is on the line. Does he deliver? As usual. Worm shot well and consistently each round, taking only 2 bogeys over 3 rounds. Now, there's good disc golf, and then there's awesome disc golf. Michigan's Dave Feldberg out of bounds on his drive. The long putt through the trees to save circle 3? You betcha. Holy cow, Feldberg with the mojo in overdrive, and he would be hanging with the leaders this weekend. 99 world champ Ron Russell, he's recouped from a back injury and marked his return with a win in Kansas City last weekend. His unique putting style still works, as you can plainly see. This one is good. Current world champ Cameron Todd got warmed up in the first round with a new course record at Bradley Park, 9 under. Not bad for a world champ. Cam Todd may be the longest and most consistent putter of all time. Yes, we said it, all time. Finally, North Carolina's Brian Schweberger. It's his first year on tour, and this laid-back guy is Mr. Smoothie, already becoming well known for letting the disc do the work. Schweberger with a nearly perfect round in the third at McNaughton, blowing away the old record by 3 strokes with an 8 under par. On the women's side, lefty Sue Stevens of Michigan was especially enjoying some of the lefty-friendly holes in Peoria, where she managed to remain in the fairways and remain in the hunt. Alabama's Leslie Herndon. If she's not in a tournament round, she's usually throwing practice putts. Does practice pay off? Well, just ask Leslie. Des Redding of Illinois, always a threat to the pros. Redding's bag is full of tricks, and like in the investment world, a diversified portfolio will always lead you closer to your long-term goals. If only the overhand shot will get her to the basket, you can be sure the overhand shot is what Des Redding is going to use to get there. And 4-time women's world champ Julianne Korver, she is not undefeated in 2002, but nearly so. What's keeping her at the top? Sinking putt after putt after putt. With her smooth follow-through and full extension, Korver is nearly automatic on the green from within 40 feet. Julianne Korver, another National Tour win in the Women's Open division. You were leading yesterday, but you struggled in the last round today. How did it go?
Well, unfortunately, the beginning of this last round, I had a couple discs slip out early and lost confidence and started playing tentatively, and that's not the way to play this game.
So your drives were not coming out like you would prefer them to. What about your putts today?
My putts were okay. Not great, not too bad. But thankfully, I played well enough yesterday that the problems weren't a problem overall.
Despite the struggles, you win another one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's time to play some of the holes that the pros are going to be shooting this weekend at McNaughton Park in Peoria, Illinois. With us to show us around is one of the tournament directors. He's Wilbur Wallace. Now, Wilbur, how long has the course been here, and why is it so popular?
It's been in since '94 we started it. I think one of the most popular, it's just a beautiful park. It's got a lot of natural fairways, but there's still, you've got to definitely hit your shot on it. It's a challenging course. It makes you play a good round of golf.
We've arrived at one of the final line safari holes. This will be hole 7. It's 275 feet across the water. Tell me about the hole and what we need to do to hopefully get a deuce.
Well, first of all, you got to avoid the trees here at the front. There's a nice hyzer shot in here for the righties. There is a lefty, a hyzer lefty shot. That call came into play when we were designing it. Certain times of the day you can look at the tee and see the basket through the trees, kind of tempting you to go that way, but you don't want to do that. Anything in the water is OB. The lake monster Figgy will come out and snatch your disc and have him for lunch. He likes yellow.
We'll try to avoid him. Let's throw this hole.
Okay.
Wilbur, I know a lot of people shoot at this course. Do you have any idea at all how many rounds per year are shot here at McNaughton?
Oh God, thousands and thousands and thousands. We've got a lot of courses that are popular. This one's a little bit more challenging, so not quite as many as Bradley, but it gets a lot of play. A lot of play.
Well, you are looking at a potential deuce here.
Yeah, I'm happy with the shot. Some of the big arms will probably be in there right there at the basket, but this is a nice safe spot to be. You don't want to hit the trees. They'll knock you down into the lake a lot of times. Now, if I just know how to putt, I'd be playing this game well.
Oh, you know how to putt. You just have to remember.
There you go. Okay, now we'll see if we can find yours up here. It looks pretty good.
Well, we shall see.
A lot of stuff to get in. Up, here we go. Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be played.
Now, how come I can't throw a shot like that in a tournament? All right?
There you go.
You're all over this, Wilbur. Oh, yeah.
Taking the 3.
Wilbur, thanks so much for showing us around.
You're welcome.
It's McNaughton Park in Peoria, Illinois. And if people are looking for directions or more information, where can they go?
Go to the Peoria Frisbee Club website. It's at pfcdiscgolf.org.
It really is one of the coolest disc golf courses anywhere. It's time to sit down and talk with someone who's making a big impact on the game of disc golf. There are few people who have made as big an impact in as short amount of time as 4-time women's world champion Julianne Korver. Julianne joins us today, and thanks and welcome to Disctv.
Thank you.
Let's talk right off the bat about the 4 world championships. Elaine King, who held the previous crown, won 5 times. You've won 4 in a row. If you win in 2002, you will have matched her record.
Exactly. Elaine was absolutely the dominant player in the early 90s, and she took 4 consecutive world titles and then had a actually got a thorn in her hand and had to take a year off, was a slow start coming back, and then won again 2 years later. So she's got 5 titles and 4 of them consecutive.
So if you were to get a 5th world title this year, you would in fact have a brand new record because yours would all be consecutive.
True.
Now the competition's getting tougher. You know that the level of play is going up. What are your thoughts on this year in Houston?
I think Houston is going to be a really close match. It's very true that the level of competition is getting harder. There are some super female golfers out there. Of course, Elaine is always right there. Leslie Herndon coming on strong, taking 2nd last year, and she's just a phenomenal putter. Des Redding playing super this year as well, and she is a really strong thrower as well as a good putter. So yeah, the competition is going to be there.
The World Championships this year will be in Houston in August. It's going to be hot and muggy. Are you prepared for that kind of weather?
Yeah, we've been putting in the sauna and trying to. No, I don't know. Been trying to figure out how to get a good grip with the heat conditions, whether to use a chalk bag or whether to use a towel. Just trying to get out and play in similar conditions and make sure that we're in good enough shape to sustain the heat.
Last year, a real exciting moment in your disc golf career. You were chosen, along with Barry Schultz, to represent the United States at the World Games, and you played disc golf.
That was absolutely the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life. It was, before we went over, I mean, the thought of playing on a national level like that was amazing. But once we got there, it was so much more than I expected. The opening ceremonies, they had a stadium filled to capacity, and we all did the athletes march through the stadium, and before we came in, they had parachuters with the flags on their parachutes come in, and the music was blaring, and the crowd was I mean, totally goosebumps all over my body, and you felt like you were part of something. You were a part of something bigger, and disc golf was being legitimate. It was a legitimate sport in this national competition, and we got a lot of recognition while we were there. We had a lot of the people that were in charge of the games watching our competition, especially the final aspects of it, and a lot of good press, and just the way that they treated the athletes, not just us, but everybody there. It was amazing.
Now, I should explain to our viewers that the World Games last year in 2001 were held in Akita, Japan, and essentially the World Games are a stepping stone into the Olympics. So for the first time, disc golf was a medal sport at the World Games, and we could be seeing Juliana perhaps in the next Summer Olympics throwing disc golf.
Certainly this is a stepping stone to that. I don't think it's going to be catapulted that quickly, but this, if we do eventually want to get into Olympics, and who in our sport would not want to be there, this is the route that we need to take to get there.
Now, I know the competition for you was close. Tell us about it.
The competition, well, the way that we played it this year was a match play, or last year, it was match play. There were 6 countries represented. Each country got to choose 1 man and 1 woman to play. The women then matched up on day 1 and played everybody round robin style for 9 holes. The top 2 scorers, the top 2 finishers, then would play each other the next day for the gold medal. And then the second, or the third and fourth place would play each other for the bronze medal. And the top countries in the women's division were the United States, Sweden, and then Canada, followed by Great Britain. So I was matched up with Nilafar from Sweden, who is just a little spark plug. She's not very big, but she can throw a mile. I bet she can easily throw her 400 feet, and she's just a tiny little thing. And we played a final 18-hole match. The way that they set it up, the men played it right in front of us, so they would play a hole, and then we'd follow and play a hole so that the gallery could see everybody. They could watch, or I'm sorry, we would play first, and then the guys would follow. And Barry was playing against the Canadian player, Mike Sullivan. And Barry had a really good medal round and ended up getting enough points so that Mike couldn't come back and beat him by about the 14th hole. And they stopped play for him right there because
the match was won.
The match was won. And at that point, everybody was celebrating. I was expecting Barry to take it easy and to go back. Well, by this time, I was down by two points with, I think we had 4 or 5 holes left. 5 holes left, down by 2. And the first thing that Barry did was walk right over to me, look me in the eye, and said, "Now it's your turn." So the pressure was on, and it meant a lot to me, not only because it was a come-from-behind victory, but also my parents were there to watch it, and the crowd and the national, it was, like I said, it was easily the most memorable and exciting moment in my career.
You came back, you did win the gold medal.
I did. It came down to the last hole. We were tied going into the last hole, and I ended up winning that hole by a stroke.
What a finish. What a thrill. So the gold medal now, where is that?
It's at my dad's house. When we flew in and out of Minneapolis, because that's where the World Championships were held, and my dad lives close to there, and so he was the first person that we visited, and I asked if he could store it for me instead of keeping it with us on the road. It's heavy too.
Well, I would hope so. All right, let's talk a little bit about women in the game. We have a lot of viewers who are brand new players, and if anyone can help them with some tips, I know, Julianne Korver, that you can. There are some things that you see a lot as far as mistakes that people are making in their form and their throwing style. What do you recommend to the players?
Brand new players, the most common mistake is to throw the disc like it were a frisbee that you were going to play catch with. And what they do is they bring it down low with what we would call hyzer angle, and they don't ever give the disc a chance to fly flat and straight. And for a backhanded right-hand thrower, that means the disc is going to just go up and dive left and not go very far, and that can get frustrating over and over again. So the best thing to do is to get a disc that's not necessarily very stable, maybe a putter, maybe a mid-range, and try to concentrate on keeping it flat, or even trying to turn it over to the right. What you're doing and what you think you're doing aren't necessarily the same thing when you begin playing.
So keep the disc flat.
Keep the disc flat.
And start with maybe a putter or an approach disc, so it won't get away from you.
Exactly. Learn. I recommend starting with one disc. Learn that disc. When you can control it, you can make it go right, you can make it go left, you can make it go relatively straight. Then you're ready to move up to a driver or some other disc, and don't overload yourself right away with a full bag.
If I'm a brand new player and I'm going to go out and buy my first disc, is there one or two models that you might recommend?
There's so many discs out there right now. Maybe 5-10 years ago, well, I wasn't playing 10 years ago, but maybe I could have said, this is the disc. Now, an AVR, a rock, a spider, any blunt edge disc, I think, is a pretty good start.
She's been called the greatest ambassador in disc golf history, and she's Julianne Korver. Julianne, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
This is the part of the show where we talk with one of the pros about improving our poor, pathetic games, because disc golf is not easy. And helping us out today is Sean Sinclair. Sean has been out on the PDGA National Tour for over 4 years. Sean, what was your last National Tour win?
No, just about 3 weeks ago I won the 2002 Mid-America Open in Columbia, Missouri.
You've been all over the country, you've played a million courses, you pretty much know all the trick shots.
I try to know all the trick shots. In order to get to the next level, you need to have a wide array of shots.
The key to winning disc golf, saving par. That's what Sean's going to help us with today. Come on, Sean.
Action.
Okay, Sean, here's our lie, and this is not an easy situation. First of all, describe what your options might be.
Well, immediately as a right-hander, you want to think, because the natural movement of the disc is to go from right to left, that you want to look for the hyzer. However, that is completely blocked, as you can see, by the tree.
So let me stop you there. A hyzer shot for a right-handed player is going to go from right to left.
Exactly.
So we're blocked by the big tree. Okay, please go on.
And then your next option is to look at straight. You've got teeny tiny window there. You're kind of hoping for a lot of luck to get through the straight window. And your next option is to have the disc come from left to right, the anhyzer. But for a right-hander to get that disc to go that high and to stop next to the basket, you're probably reducing your chances quite a bit that way.
So what's the solution?
Glad you asked. I prefer to throw an overhand. There's lots of different names for the disc that's moving in that direction, but overhand because it resembles a baseball throw. You throw the ball overhand. Some people call it a tomahawk, some people call it an upside down. But in just a second, when I demonstrate, you'll see that it resembles a baseball overhand throwing motion.
So to be clear, you don't have to, in disc golf, you don't have to throw a frisbee out flat. There's a lot of different ways you can get it to the basket.
Exactly. There are no limitations on what the disc has to do.
So for an overhand shot, what do we need to know?
Well, basically, there are two types of overhands. There is what's called a thumber, and I'll show you here, where you're going to hook your thumb, so it's called a hook thumb, on the inside of the disc. This is going to turn 2 times in the air. And it's going to go out left, and then it's going to turn and come back right, which is the better option for us right now because we got the left side open. The other option is to throw a 2-finger. Similar to people that want to throw a sidearm, you're going to put both fingers on the inside. This one, however, is going to go out to the left and come back right. That's not an option for us right now, so we're going to go with...
Because the shot is blocked.
Exactly. So we're going to go with the hook thumb overhand.
Let's see it.
Okay. Ooh, a little long, but it was online.
Sean, that is such a cool shot.
Thank you.
Now, there's a lot going on there. So other than the grip, what do people need to know?
I like to go with three things. I call it aim, angle, and snap. Okay. What I said before is it was going to resemble a baseball overhand throw. Okay, that part is very simple. The footwork is just like throwing a ball. I basically took 2 steps, and it's almost as if you were throwing a ball from the outfield into the infield, where I just took right, left, and threw the ball. The big difference is the third component, which is the snap. Most of this throw comes from your wrist. If you don't include your wrist snap on this, it's going to kind of wobble, as we call it. Okay. So here you are going to be following through, but the focus is the snap needs to be up.
All right.
Okay. First one was aim.
Right. Which
Now,
we haven't talked about yet.
We haven't talked about the aim. If we use a clock, and I like to call the basket 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we got 6 o'clock directly behind us. For the hook thumb that's going to move from our left back to our right, I like to aim about 11 o'clock. Disc will go out, and it tends to come back farther to the right than if you were aiming directly at the basket. So I adjust and go to 11 o'clock.
Okay.
If I'm throwing the 2 finger that goes out from the right back to the left, I'm going to aim at 1 o'clock.
Now, does it matter what disc you're throwing? Will that affect where you need to aim?
That will affect where it's going. The more overstable driver you can throw, the better. A faster overstable driver is going to go farther. If we were 150 feet closer, I would choose an overstable mid-range. But you want to go with overstable. As soon as you start getting into stable and more understable discs, then they're going to start turning and flying back to the left, and I don't even want to get into that.
So if people are shopping for a disc that they want to use for overhand shots, an overstable disc is what they should ask for.
Exactly. Overstable driver. So we've got 2 of the 3 components. We've got aim and we've got the snap. The third is angle. If I grab a disc here, just as we were saying 12 o'clock with the clock being the basket straight ahead, the angle of release is perpendicular to the ground to get the truest flying shot.
So straight up and down.
Straight up and down. The tendency that usually happens with this is the people that throw it fly open with it, and they get the disc to turn and it comes way right.
So 2 o'clock, not good. Stick to 12 o'clock.
Straight up and down on the aim.
Okay.
The straighter you can get it, the longer it's going to fly and the truer it's going to fly.
Straight up at 11 o'clock.
Exactly.
You should get there.
So we're doing our aim at 11 o'clock to the basket, our angle straight up perpendicular to the ground, and our snap, the third component, is following through with the wrist hard, straight up.
It seems real complicated, Sean, but the beauty of this shot is that it's very consistent, isn't it?
Really, really consistent. A lot of people will use this shot out in the wide open. If you know exactly how far you can throw this, say my range is 300 to 325, if I'm wide open and I need the disc to land in a certain spot, I can throw this because I know what it's going to do.
I know we're going to want to see your throwing style again as we mentally apply the techniques you've just taught us. So can we see a few more shots?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Okay, I think we got it now. If you can give us just a couple more examples of actually throwing so we can watch you.
Okay, great.
Man, that's cool. So that's one version of the overhand shot. It's got other names as well, the tomahawk or the hammer, but it's a great trick shot to have in your bag, and again, it provides a real consistent shot. If you need to go 300 feet, you can do it pretty much every time.
That's the idea.
Sean, if people want more information about this or some other advice from you, where can they go?
2 places. They both go to the same place. The name of the company is Gateway Disc Sports. You can go to gatewaydiscsports.com, or you can go to gdstour.com, where, I don't know if you knew this, you can find out information on course design as well as setting up a tournament in your local area.
And if people want to contact you directly, can they from that site?
Yes, you can go to sean@gdstour.com and feel free to send in questions, and I will respond as I get to them.
We'll see you on the fairways.